Good morning. Good morning. It's Elisa James and it's Happy Friday today. It's Experts Friday and I'm popping into the Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club, my private group here on Facebook, and I'm also streaming live to YouTube. So YouTube fans, hello, hello. Nice to see you here. Thank you for your love and support. And hi to all my coaches and aspiring speakers inside my Facebook group. Now, I am live here every single Friday at 8:30 a.m. Sydney time. And as you know, every Friday, I invite someone to speak, someone to tell their story, someone to help you get better in business or grow your life and become a better person. This is why we're here. It's all about raising our vibration, helping us become the best person that we can possibly be in life, and for me, leaving the world a better place. That is one of my major goals. So all of us here have a voice. All of us here have a legacy to leave, and all of us here have a message to share. And Christy is absolutely no exception. So I would like to welcome today to the show Experts Interview, Christy Roberts. Thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Well, Christy is a mindset and results coach, and I've known Christy now for about a year or so, and she has an incredible story to share. You know how we all have things thrown at us in life, right? I remember going to a workshop years and years ago, and it's at the title in Florida. It was called, "Why is this happening to me again? ... again ... again? Question mark. And I thought, oh, what a fantastic name for a workshop. And it's so true, regardless of the big things that are thrown at us, sometimes we can find that our mindset is not giving us the right results in life, right? So those things can become patterns of behavior that we get stuck into, that we get used to. And when we dig that groove really deeply, that behavioral pattern, it just is never going to give you anything different. It's only going to give you more of the same. This is what Christy really helps you with. But her story is so incredible, it's going to knock your socks off. I will hand it over to Christy.
Thanks, Elisa. Say again.
Tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Yeah, so I started my coaching journey and the mindset work probably 15 or so years ago. My background is human resources and organisational development, and so I naturally sort of transitioned into coaching. But I found, my life was quite ordinary. I was on that hamster wheel. It wasn't really till I got into coaching that I realised that, though, by the way, because you're absolutely right. We fall into these patterns and we fall into these behaviours where we tend to do the same thing. We learn behaviours and when we run that strategy and we run that same behavioural pattern over and over and over and over, because we've just always done it that way. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And so my life led me into coaching. It sort of naturally, organically happened that way. I found I was sort of at this pressure point in my life where I wasn't happy in my career. I was overweight, incredibly unfit. I just didn't have the money or the time to do anything that was really important to me. And so there comes a pressure point where I needed to shift, I needed to change. And coaching, the journey of coaching's allowed me to do that. And so I did a lot of work. I turned it all around. I was traveling 2.5 hours a day to work in a job I didn't like, and I've lost 20 kilos. I'm now working from home. Yeah, so I've turned it all around and really proud of where I'm at right now. I'm the fittest I've ever been in my life. So I don't want to hear anyone out there saying that they're too old, because age is just a number. It's what you do with the time. It's what you do with your life. That's what matters, because you can turn everything around. And if there's fit people out there in their 50s, 60s, 70s, then you can do it too. Like, it's
absolutely
possible.
Absolutely. I actually read a study that states that they were testing to see if 80-year-olds could grow muscle at the same rate as 30 and 40-year-olds. Unequivocally, yes was the answer. 80-year-olds can grow muscle at the same rate as anybody else younger. It's like we have no excuse.
I know. And I'm living proof of that as well. I've never been a fit person, ever. And yet now I am. And so that's, it's a wonderful journey and it's a wonderful life. But my story and the tragedy that I've had in the last year, you know, because the thing about life is life happens.
Yeah.
Life happens, and we just don't know what's going to happen when, because life can throw us all curveballs. We all have ups and downs, you know, that is the natural order of life. That's how life works. And so for me last year, right at the beginning of COVID, when everyone, you know, we were going into restrictions, there was a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty about getting corona, and you know, and just with the restrictions, we didn't know what was happening. I was transitioning into my coaching full time, and I got a phone call. I was actually camping. I was down at the Seven Sisters Festival. It was 6:35 in the morning, and here I am in the tent, in a field of tents, and having a wonderful time. And my phone was on silent, and I saw it, and it was my daughter. And I'm like, 6:35 in the morning, like, what's going on? So I answered this phone call, and this feeling of dread just came over me. And I'm like, hello. And straight away I could hear, oh, hi. And she's gone, I don't know how to say this.
Oh, God.
I don't know how to say this. And I said, Dale, just say it. And she just said, Aaron. So Aaron's my 18-year-old son. She said, Aaron's been in a car accident. And I've just frozen, and I've just gone, yes. And Aaron died in that accident. So, you know, it's one of those moments that you never expect. You don't know how you're going to cope. You don't, you know, like your world literally falls apart. Everything you work towards, everything you've achieved, you know. To lose a child is, I believe, the hardest thing for any parent to ever have to endure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it defies the natural order of the world to bury your child. Yeah.
Absolutely. God. Yeah.
And, you know, I think I give myself courage to talk about this, because clearly it's not an easy conversation to have. And for me, it's actually not even that long ago. But I've done the work. So I'm curious about human behavior. I'm curious about grief. And I guess there's a number of things that I've learned along the way that people don't know. We don't know this stuff. We're not taught. We don't understand grief as a society. We don't know how to grieve. We don't know how to support people in their grief.
So
and this
true.
is, it's part of the journey. And I think for me, just to spend a moment about grief, because the more education I can get out there, I want to increase societal awareness around grief. And I believe that's part of my journey now. Grief is physical.
Yeah.
It is physical. I had so many physical symptoms that you just don't even realize. Grief is not something that you get over in 3 months and move on. Grief stays with you forever. Because if you love someone and they die, they're always gone. You will always miss them. And time doesn't heal all wounds. It just doesn't, because I'm in grief groups, and it's really challenging, because so many people 20 years on, 25 years on, are stuck in their grief. So it's not time that heals your wounds, it's what you do with that time.
Bingo. I'm going to put that in the banner. That is so important. And that's true for anything, right? It's absolutely true for anything. I've seen so many people stuck over much smaller things, Christy. It's what you do with it.
Yeah.
And that's true for everything. I'm just going to show that on the screen. But guys, I just want to let you know too, sorry about me getting all teary up, but this is
no, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, look, it's so honest, and it's so, what I love about working with people who can be open is that it affects people on a much deeper level. Being vulnerable helps more people be okay about being vulnerable. You know, there's so many people that I've trained in the past where I know they need to go there for their own growth and healing, but they'll just shut down and walk off camera, you know, just to protect themselves from not being seen that they're losing it or crying or upset or whatever. But that's where the magic is. That juice is telling you that there's something to move. It's so important that we stay authentic and open so people can heal and people can respond to that. Now, guys, if you're watching in YouTube or if you're watching on Facebook in the Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club, if you allow StreamYard to see your comments underneath, I think there's a little click, a link or something that you do, then that can go directly into the comments into our live stream. So if you are suffering from grief or you are stuck in your life and you want to ask Christy a question while we're on the live cast, please just pop it under the video because we will see it. And I'll be able to pop that straight up on the screen and show your question to the entire audience. And remember, no question is too stupid. Like really, no question is too silly because whatever you're thinking, somebody else might be thinking too. So please serve everybody by asking a question, okay? Yeah, so look, I think you're right. It's not what happens to us, it's what we do. Right.
Exactly.
And so what you've done is moved you forward despite the feelings of grief that you have.
Yeah. And my work is about how can I actually still live a good life, even though my son is gone? You know, it's really hard because people naturally want you to be happy. It's like, oh, when COVID's over, we'll go dancing or we'll do this. No, I don't want to dance. Yet. And so for people in deep grief, even feeling happy, even doing something that brings joy, often there's a sense of guilt or shame that goes along with that because your mind does all these crazy things like, how can I possibly be happy when my son is dead? It's really complex. And in grief, you know, pain is inevitable. When someone you love dies, you will be in pain. But the suffering, which is the stories, so the guilt, the shame, the what ifs, the negative dialogue, that's suffering. That's optional. It doesn't have to be that way. And so, you know, that's how I work with a lot of my clients and just like you say, put the questions in because the more of these conversations we're having, the more people we can reach and help when it seems that help just isn't there because it's a very lonely journey.
Yeah.
Even me with all my work, you know, no one can understand what I'm feeling because everyone's grief is different.
Yeah, of course. And you're right. People sometimes don't even know how to talk about it. And not only for the person who's suffering through the grief, but your friends and people across the street. So I remember a conversation with somebody saying that people would avoid her after her husband died because they didn't know what to say. They felt so bad for her, they didn't know what to say. So that poor person was left sort of feeling out high and dry with everybody just disappeared because people are so uncomfortable with the word death. That same day, a friend of mine started a coffee group called Death and Cake. And I think that that's a really good idea so people can actually just open up and discuss it, just talk about it openly because it's the only thing that's you know, in life that we can rely on is that we're all going to die at some stage and we never know when.
We have 100% mortality rate. Death is inevitable. Death will happen. We don't know where, we don't know when, we don't know how, and we don't know at what age. So, you know, and so my work, whilst, yes, I have become an expert in grief, and part of me wants to say unfortunately, but I feel actually incredibly privileged and honoured that I can help so many people now.
Oh, absolutely.
Through my pain, I can really, really make a difference.
Isis just left that. It's what you do with it. And also Sharon Brandon is also a coach in this area. The healing is in the feeling. I love that. So she's loving that. Thank you. Wonderful conversation. We need to have more of them. Yeah. So look, that's awesome. So what sort of people come to you? And I know it's not all about grief because a lot of the time you work with leaders and people who want to move forward in life and moving up the corporate ladder. So what are they usually suffering with or struggling with when they come to you for coaching?
Yeah, typically most of my clients are leaders just by default because of my background in leadership development. I've been in that space for many, many years and am quite an expert in that area. But a typical client that comes to me, I work with a lot of pain and a lot of deep emotional pain. So anxiety, trauma, grief, anger. A lot of people have a lot of anger that's suppressed and they don't know how to get it out. So I work on healthy ways to express all these emotions. to release the people so they can start feeling happy again.
Yeah.
But often my clients have a big goal that they want to achieve, don't know how to get there. So they're either stuck or procrastinating.
Right.
Yeah, that's my typical type of client. And anyone that really wants to live a better life, you're kind of looking at your life and going, is this it? Like, surely, and that feeling deep inside that you get where you just know that you're here for more, like you're capable of more, and you're just frustrated that it's not happening. So I help those clients actually step into that potential and identify it and release themselves to be greater.
Yeah, look, that's wonderful. I've got another question here. When somebody's very stuck, do you get people in victim mode coming to you, or do you find that when they're actually signing up for a coaching program, they're ready to move? Or which way does it usually go?
There's no usual way, because as humans, we are very unique.
Yeah.
I definitely have victims, and I get, with the stuck and the procrastinating, they're actually two different things. So how I work with being stuck or being procrastinating, I have different methods. So if you're stuck, then what that usually means is you don't have clarity around your vision and your goal and your purpose.
Right.
Because you're stuck. You actually don't know where it is you want to go. And so if you're procrastinating, that usually means you've got an idea of where you want to go, but it's too big. You don't know how to get there, and it's outside your comfort level.
Yeah, and that makes people sort of flounder and get overwhelmed and lost.
So we stay safe. We stay safe cleaning the kitchen or doing the emails or, not doing the important tasks that are actually going to help us reach our goals. So I really challenge and push my clients to actually recognize. Like, I actually teach. So yes, I'm a coach, but I also am an educator. So I explain so people actually understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, neurologically, as the human behavioral side. And that really, really resonates with a lot of my clients.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what I know that you work with a lot of people with limiting beliefs. So if they have a really negative thought pattern, how do you start to move that energy?
Yeah, and so, to put this in context, we all have negative beliefs. We all have limiting beliefs. Like, we're human. It doesn't matter how much of this work we do, we still have limiting beliefs and negative beliefs. But when it comes to negative beliefs, it's important to recognize that you might be having thoughts, but that doesn't mean you are those thoughts. So they're two different things. So recognizing you're not your thoughts, and recognizing that it's almost like, think of it like a third person, and you can challenge it. Just because you're having the thoughts doesn't mean you have to be that. So when it comes to limiting beliefs and negative beliefs, I've got two different ways that I work with limiting beliefs in particular. One's more of a coaching methodology, and it's a 4-step process, which is very simple. Step 1 is it true? So is it true? What you're telling yourself, is it true? Step 2 is, is it nurturing you? Is it serving you? Is it challenging you? So these are things. It needs to be nurturing you, challenging you. Is it kind? Like, is it going to help you grow? So these are all the steps you need to think about. And then lastly, if it's not, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. You don't need it, and replace it with something that does support you, does serve you, that is true, that is going to grow you and challenge you and nurture you. That's the coaching methodology. I'm also a self-directed healing practitioner. And with self-directed healing, this is where I do the deep emotional work. We go in and we actually feel, where is that belief? So it's, I'm a bad mum. Where are you feeling that in your body? Is it in your heart? Is it in your mind? Is it in your throat? Is it in the where is it in your body? Where are you feeling it? And as a healing practitioner, we work energetically to actually magnify that feeling. And what happens is you can't hold on to emotion, a strong emotion, for about more than 40 seconds. It shifts. And so, what we do is we work with those limiting beliefs And then all of a sudden something, when you really get into that unconscious thinking and really start feeling it in your body physically, it releases, and then all of a sudden it'll shift. You'll go, no, I'm not, or it could be your truth, and then we need to work on identity.
Yep.
Yeah, but those limiting beliefs, it releases, and you get it out of your body energetically.
That's
so
awesome.
It's really powerful.
I remember reading something from maybe Wayne Dyer a few years ago that was so pertinent and so strange that we don't do this. He said, when you put something poisonous or off by accident, obviously, you put something in your mouth that doesn't taste right, it's maybe off or it's not good for you, we will literally spit it out or vomit it up, right? Because that body is rejecting something that's not right for us. And yet every single day we digest all these awful negative patterns of thoughts and patterns of words, and we don't spit them out. And we literally just allow ourselves to fester in the poison. It's really quite an interesting behavior that we do, isn't it, as human beings?
And just on that, the Centre for Disease Control, there's a lot of research and data around this today. So the Centre for Disease Control in America actually states that 85% of disease is caused by trapped emotions.
Oh, wow. And that's really cool. And that brings me back to that question, because I've heard you say that quite a lot. So how would you describe a trapped emotion to somebody who doesn't know what it is?
An emotion is quite tricky. With trapped emotion, these are things that trigger you. So if you get trigger points, usually, if you're reacting to something or triggered by anything that happens around you, usually there's a trapped emotion in your body and you suppress it. With men in particular, they're not taught to express their emotions. And in fact, as a society, generally, we're not taught to feel our emotions. We don't know how to do this. In school, in the pedagogy today, they're starting to bring in mindfulness and resilience and mental health and a lot of different stuff. So the kids coming through today will have a different grounding and education than what we've got, for example. But there's generations of people who do not know how to express emotions. Boys don't cry. Well, you know what? Boys need to cry.
Yeah.
There's so much power in vulnerability, and anyone that looks at Brené Brown's work, like I love her work, it helps release you from those emotions. Most people don't realize that they're holding emotions. A lot of people avoid them. Like I'll do sessions and they'll go straight away into a story or straight away into something else or make excuses. Oh, but, no, well, really, it's good because, no. Emotion's emotion. It's there for a reason. And if we are feeling anything, like our bodies talk to us. I say this a lot as well. You've probably heard me say this. Our bodies talk to us. We actually need to listen.
Yes. Bingo. Yes. Yeah. I love that. I'm going to write that on a banner too. That is fantastic.
It's one of my key messages, and I cannot say it enough. If your body is talking to you, if you have back pain, if you have headaches, if you have anything that's going on, yes, you can go to the doctor and you can get medication. And, don't get me wrong, I'm not a medical practitioner, but I believe there is absolutely use for medication. But I think in a lot of instances, we're numbing our pain. A mother in grief goes to a doctor, gets antidepressants. No. What that does is it blocks you from feeling the emotion that's going to release you to deal with your grief.
Yeah, and then it has to come out somewhere, and it's going to. It's absolutely got to come out somewhere. And I've seen that sort of blocked emotion or trapped emotion inside the body it manifests as some sort of trauma over time, 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I've seen people much later in life angry, resentful, riddled with arthritis, riddled with pain. I mean, there's so much stuff that can be blocked in the body. If it's not moved, it's going to manifest. I went to a doctor the other day for a back issue that I'm dealing with, and I know that there's an emotional component to that. And he said there's been a study done with cells, body cells, muscle cells inside the body, where the muscle cell would be perfectly fine and relaxed and malleable and everything on this side in the petri dish or whatever. And then on this side, as soon as they put a little stress hormone in, one drop of a stress hormone of cortisol in, the muscle went like this and cramped up. And I thought, ooh, that's super interesting. So that any stress levels or any of that anger, can you imagine that we hold on to, especially when you're grieving? But let's face it, grief is not necessarily a personal loss. Sometimes I've had lots of people in grief because of a voice loss as a Christy, when you use your voice or your body as a swimmer, for instance, if you give up your career for whatever reason, because maybe you had to, that can be massive grief of that loss left behind.
100%.
Yeah, I found the same thing when I lost my voice 25 years ago. I experienced massive grief because I didn't know what to do with my life if I had no voice. Like, what do you do? What if I couldn't sing? Who was I? It was all that came up. So you can imagine how many people suffer from that too. So this is 100%. A really, really powerful conversation that more people need to have. And Sharon is right. More people need to have this and be open and vulnerable about it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And grief by definition is the loss of something. So you're spot on. Natural disasters, people lose their homes. There's a lot of grief that goes with that. Relationship breakdowns. Careers, there's a lot, and there's so much grief in our world, and people don't even realize. I've had a number of Aaron's friends who clearly are grieving, going through COVID and getting anxiety, but then going back into the world and going, actually, this is more than anxiety. I'm grieving.
Yeah.
And in grief, in grief, it's like we're not broken.
Yeah.
We're not broken. It's not something you fix, because it's natural that we would be grieving. Of course we are grieving, but it's how can we be kind to ourselves in our grief? How can we recognize that those emotions swing? So you might see me today and I might be laughing and enjoy. Today I feel quite heavy, a bit sad. Every day is different. Sometimes I come on and I'm just lit up and I'm happy, and other days I come on and I feel heavy, and you just don't even know what you're going to get. But that is the nature of grief.
Yeah, exactly. We've got one last comment before we shoot off today. And remember, if you want to comment or question or ask Christy a question, right underneath the video inside Find Your Voice Aspiring Speakers Club. If you're watching on YouTube, you need to jump over to Facebook and watch the replay. You can ask Christy any question with a hashtag replay, and she will make sure that she's monitoring that page. And you can find her at her website, which I'll leave up one more time. So agreed, we are numbing our pain. I agree that at some stage in life, that pain is going to show in the soul, the body, or the spirit at some stage. So true. Yeah, so I don't know if that is come from YouTube or on Facebook. Sometimes they show in from both areas, which is really super cool. So let me go back to my banner. So this is where you can find Christy, guys. She's at ChristyRobertsCoaching.com. If you've got anything that you're working through in life, she's a mindset and results coach, and she can help you get to where you want to be. So thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure having this time with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. And just a shout out to anyone that's considering Alyssa to work with. Absolutely amazing. You've really helped me on my journey articulate a story and an experience that's just so incredibly challenging, and working on my voice. So thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been
incredible.
All right, darling, you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. See you guys.
Thank you.
Have a great Friday.
Everyone.
Bye.